Always turn the snares on. Has anybody ever made that mistake?
It accidentally comes off.
Has that ever happened to you? Take two. Let's try that again. Now, next up is the grooves you play, the fills you play, the solos you play. And I love to work with you in real time, live, online with this. It's so much fun. We have drummers from all around the world working with us and fine-tuning their rhythm and just taking their fills and grooves to the next level where you never get stuck in that place of same old, I'm just playing the same boring stuff. You just have unlimited rhythm to draw from. And it really opens your eyes too to other styles, and you go, oh, I see the continuity of everything. One really eye-opening experience for me was when I traveled to India, and I spent a lot of time there studying with some great masters. And Indian drumming, it's all spoken, so you speak the rhythms, and you notice on the LTR drumming method model, singing the rhythms is what we do. We want your voice to come out loud and proud on the drums, and that's the root of confidence. And it really comes from singing the rhythms a lot of times. And when we sing the rhythms, we know it, it flows, and we're utilizing what we call the fifth limb of drumming, which is the voice. And before we even put it in a groove, there's a cool exercise you can do. Let's say the pulse. And this is really an ancient concept going to Indian drumming and a lot of cultures around the world that verbalize rhythm.
When we play, we learn this language. So when I'm playing a particular phrase, I know in my head exactly what it is. I can sing it out and write it out in time.
I remember one of the Indian master drummers I studied with, he had said that having this mastery, being able to sing the different rhythmic blocks and put them together in any way that he wanted. I remember he said it was like having 10 eyes around his head where he could just see infinitely in any direction he wanted. And I love that. And that means when you hear, say, some African drummers, you hear some drummers from Cuba, you hear an amazing metal band, you hear a jazz drummer, you go, oh, I see the rhythmic continuity and the tapestry that holds it all together. It's all actually united. And you notice that on the LTR drumming model, we call it grids. So grids is like the little pieces inside of the groove. So when you move your head, the space in between, we can divide it. And we need to be really familiar with how that feels and how it sounds. And that's really the building blocks of rhythm. And that's what we'll go into a little bit today. But we go way deeper into the LTR drumming course. And when I work with you, we really fine tune this in the way that you want it to come out through your ideas. But let's go through this. So we call this the elements, the periodic table of elements. Everything is made up of these elements in some form. So it's the same way with rhythm. And you're doing more with less. And that's a big secret of drumming, is like simplicity. So you can do a lot less or a lot more with a lot less. You're getting intimate with all these in a way where it feels rooted down and really centered, and you've got a strong foundation, and also where you can sing them and you're also becoming the pulse at the same time. So that's so important. Ta 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 ta. And notice we're not using any numbers and we're not using any counting. So I feel this is way overused in traditional lessons, just counting and the 1 enda, 2 enda. It's important to know, but man, we got to let that go. We got to let that go and just sing it, and where it becomes intuitive and where you can own it. There's no numbers, no thinking. You're not stuck in that inner critic mode in your mind. You can just like become the groove. It just, that feels natural. My creativity goes to a new level and everything just clicks in the pocket. I'm not able to think. I'm not in my thinking mind. My inner critic is just shut down a little bit. And combined with the technique and combined with the body movements in there, everything clicks together and it's awesome. It feels great. It sounds great. And it is a great experience, which is how drumming was meant to be. So what we do in the LTR drumming method is that you become the drum. We say like you're the instrument. And this really, if you look at, like I spend a lot of time in India where it's really an oral tradition where you speak the rhythms. They won't even let you touch the drum until you can really cleanly, confidently speak the rhythms first. And that's why we say, if you can say it, you can play it. So drumming is really in a mindset, a heart set. So it's felt in your heart emotionally. You can see it, like visualize it in your mind, and then you speak it through your voice. And then combined with movement, then you've already taken care of the instrument because the instrument is you. If you look at Japanese drumming, I did a little bit of taiko drumming. I went to Cuba and studied there. If you look at, I'm deep into African drumming. If you look at all these traditions around the world, so much is spoken and felt and done with the voice. We call it singing the rhythms. Writing is great and having the notes is fantastic, but we need to be able to say it and then play it. And then you become the instrument so that when you pick up the sticks, it's like you've already won the battle. So if you ever studied The Art of War, it's an ancient general from thousands of years ago, Sun Tzu. He wrote this document called The Art of War. And one of the tenets there was to win a battle before it's ever fought. And that's what's happening in drums. So if you sit and you pick up the sticks, you're like, oh man, there's all this stuff here. What am I gonna, I hope it works out. Hope is not a strategy, right? So just hoping, oh, I hope this works out. That is not confidence, and that's not going to work out. So you got to know. And if you've won the battle before it's ever fought, you have a deep knowing. And if you just play something simple, man, it will sound amazing. It'll make people feel great, and it just creates that magic that the great drummers have where they do something with simplicity, but it's like, it's just moving. And that's probably why you drum in the first place. I know those moments for me. I saw my favorite drummers do that. It's like, wow, I want to take part in that magic. So let's do this. So we're going to speak it and just feel it and also just clap it. No sticks. So notice you can practice this while you walk your dog, or you can practice this just sitting in a chair and you need nothing. So there's no excuses not to practice, right? Exactly. So I'm not gonna, if you work with me or you're a part of the LTR drumming community, we go way deeper into this in the course. Check out the LTR method for this. But just for time, I'm gonna just focus on the first 4 and maybe mix them up a little bit and kind of see what happens. So one way is to remember the pulse and the downbeat is everything. That's the groove. That's what makes your head move. If it ain't got that swing, it don't mean a thing. So I don't care what style of music it is, it's gonna make you move. And if you watch a concert or think of the last song you heard, hopefully or earlier today, you're like, have you ever seen me in a car at a red light? I'm like this, and everybody's staring at me. I can't help it, because it's that pulse, right? That all the elements are swirling around. So we have to become that. And you notice there's no metronome here. We're gonna become the metronome. So practicing often without a metronome is great, because you get the authority over the groove. You own the time, and that's really important. It's limitless. You can come. I hope you're getting that from this masterclass today. Just limitless in all the ways that you could express yourself. Da 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 da. So I'm just improvising. Da 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 da. Now if I clap the downbeat and sing them, ta ta. There's a ta 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 ta. This is a song by Tower of Power, and it's called "What Is Hip," and it's almost got like, so since we're in this 4 subdivision, this is like a study. It's so clear, so accurate. It feels so irresistibly groove centered, like a black hole just pulling you in. And even the bass, I think his name's Rocky or Rocco, is going like do 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 do. So you can hear that, and just all the like, all the possible subdivisions that are here with the elements is like in this song. So if you just check out the song "What Is Hip" by Tower of Power. If you're not familiar with it already, get deeper into it, and even just use it as it's kind of fast, but you could try some of these concepts or just play to it, and every piece plays a strong rhythmic part, and overall it's just like a monster. And that's what studying rhythm really is, and this is like masters of it.
Think about it, y'all.
So up on the ups. I love that expression, up on the ups. So check it out, Tower of Power, David Garibaldi. Great, kind of if you're wondering like where this is going, what can I do with this? The possibilities that these have are limitless, and you will become a stronger version of you in drumming and in life. Now, once you've went through all these combinations, this takes a bit of discipline and focus, but sometimes that's a really good way to be creative, because you're just taking one building block, one element, and going, how does it feel? can I really own it? Can I feel like I can make it groove? Can I make music out of it? And we're not even gonna have time to make fills out of these. We can even, man, that's like what fills are made of. When you, you can be, or soloing, you could take each one and see if you could make a solo and be creative out of just like one element. So there's just like da-da, da-da. There's just one, but I've got dynamics, like composition, right? So anyway, we're not even gonna have time for that, but just think of, I just wanna open your mind to all the possibilities and everything we can do with this. It's pretty mind-blowing. And see where that takes you. So you might be playing a groove. And just see where that sound takes you. And it depends if you know, sometimes you're disciplined to go, okay, I'm only gonna do just one E, to E, to G, da, G, da, da, da. So just the, just that element, see what you can do with it. But you can see what happened there is I gave myself permission to just let my ear kind of create something. And all of a sudden your mind opens up to all these rhythmic options on the grid, and it's really exciting. And by the way, you notice I'm asking, what if? I love that question. Let's try it. What if? We're exploring possibility and potential and just staying curious like a child, exploring and discovering. And that's where this becomes a lifelong journey of being an eternal student, where you just constantly rediscover things. So with the elements, once we sharpen them up and we get used to them, what if we added them on the hi-hat? And one of my favorite drummers for this is Stuart Copeland. He asked the question, like, why do I have to play the hi-hats in a so-called normal kind of way? So when we play the, so-called typical beats, which is great, but remember, hi-hats can be any of the elements. So that's what opens up. It's like, wow, it actually could be any of the elements and any combination of them. And then it becomes like mind-boggling in how we use this. So what I love about Stuart is that he'd say, like, I don't want to play the typical thing. I want to make up something unique.
In the Police, a lot of the mission was, and a lot of the arguing was about, look, why can't you just play a backbeat? And because I was a spoiled brat, I don't want to play a backbeat. I want to find some other way of doing it.
So if you listen to the Police, especially the live stuff, you'll hear Stuart really experimenting with like rhythms that the hi-hat did and breaking up the patterns. And one drummer that really took on that tradition was Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews Band, one of my favorite drummers. And he almost never plays just the typical, so-called typical hi-hat eighth notes, just breaking it up and coming up with cool stuff. So I love that question, what if? So what if we put the hi-hats as all the elements and explored that? Now, one great place to start is having the elements all on the bass drum and just keeping time with your hands on top. So if the hands were just keeping that steady time and each element became the bass drum, you'll find that's a workout on your foot. And you could even try it heel down, heel up. If you play double bass, try it on your left foot, but you'll feel right away like which ones groove and which ones aren't quite there yet. That needs a little bit of work. And as the elements go, as you can see, they get denser and denser. So you get into like, first 1 bass drum, 2 bass drums, and 3 bass drums, and of course all the way to 4. So you could experiment with putting the elements on the bass drum. The feet have to play all those syncopations, every single possible rhythm. And remember, this is called permutations, which is like what's every possible way it could be in exploring all the combinations. Because remember what we said, rhythmic grids is our domain as drummers. So we have to own it. And like we said, thinking of it as the periodic table and just having mastery over the complete spectrum where you can mix and match them and create new things. And one cool word I love is alchemy, which is making gold out of like combining, just common metals and just making, it's like a magical process there. All of a sudden you create gold out of combining these elements in new ways. So that's how I look at these. And with the bass drum, it's a great way to start because you're working on your foot technique and just making sure it's really even, accurate, tight, and it just grooves and feels good. Now we could also take the elements as ghost notes, which is super cool. So if I'm playing a groove like this, kind of a typical groove, but you notice no ghost notes. The ghost notes could be on the E, 1 E, 2 E, 3 E. Chit, 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 chit. So the downbeat's there, da, da, da. And it's like right after it could be on the ands and da, 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 da. Any combination of ghost notes within the groove itself. There you go. So if I ever have a student coming to me and it's like, man, I don't know what to do, I'm out of ideas. You really need to go into grids, permutations, and elements. And it's like, whoa. And once you kind of glimpse it, like that's just barely scratching the surface of what we did and where it can take you. So look at that. That's kind of a cool groove. I've actually never done that groove ever. And I'm just being creative, almost like Legos. You just mix and match those same building blocks, but in different combinations every time by using your imagination. Watch, as we said, David Garibaldi for this. Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews Band is a guy that's really mastered the elements on like hi-hat, snare, and bass. And then it just naturally can carry into fills. That's a whole, you could go down that rabbit hole too with exploring how they sound on toms. But use these to get your imagination sparked and improve your groove with permutations and the elements.